So now time for a very important job, the exhaust. Now obviously we'll put an EZ30 into the 8.6 and neither the 8.6 exhaust is going to work nor the EZ30 exhaust is going to work. And as far as I'm aware, no one does a bolt-in solution. So it's going to be a custom job. We can see here the EZ30 sits in there nicely. However, in the Legacy, which this came out of, it's got a collector which comes and then goes straight through where this cross member goes, and the same on the other side. The 8.6 actually comes up and over the subframe, which is a nice way of doing it. So what we're going to need to do is something a little different with this car. Now these EZ30s are known with the right exhaust to sound absolutely incredible. So it's very important to me for this car to sound good. It's going to be what I envision to be very much a unique note and something which is going to set this car apart. I'm a big fan of high revs, high pitch, F1-esque kind of noise, and I'm going to do my best with this exhaust to give it a really unique, cool pitch. So what I've decided to do is we're going to do a equal length header, but also a 6-into-1 header. This should give us the high note that we're after. In my experience, anything into one, whether it be 4-into-1, 6-into-1, 8-into-1, they always sound awesome as long as they're equal length. On top of that, what I'm going to try and do is that the pulses of each cylinder circle around in a barrel, so the 6-into-1s are a circular shape, and the idea is that each pulse will suck out the next pulse as it comes around, and hopefully will give a really nice crisp note. There are a few challenges in terms of packaging this in. Unfortunately, there's no real easy way to do it. If we have a look here, there's no real space under here to mount a collector and all the associated pipes going to it. Really the only practical place to put it is going to be right here, and it's going to be a fairly big bulky thing. The unfortunate thing is that we're going to need 6 very long headers to come through here, over top of the subframe, back around here, and all meet here. But that is going to be the most practical way of doing this. So the first job I've got to do is basically make enough room for all of the runners to go over top. You can see here there's a nice big cutout in the subframe here for the exhaust to go out there. On the other side we can see there's not much space, and that's due to the cylinder heads being offset, and this one sits further back, which you can't do much about. And there's not much space to run exhausts up and around to the front. So probably what I'm going to have to do is take the subframe out and do some notching up around there. That is the scallop all done there with a fresh coat of paint. Pretty happy with that. Let's put it in and see if it fits. Here are all the exhaust parts. I'll run you through what we got. So a couple of EZ30 flanges, thanks to Richard for supplying the drawing, and they've just been laser cut. Come across, we've got a bunch of V-band clamps. So how this is going to work is that they're going to go on top of the subframe, therefore they're going to need to be able to be disconnected and pulled out. So that's a lot of V-bands there, and along with each runner we'll have a flexi as well. The company I bought these from only supplied 5, so I better hit them up about it. And then we have a heap of 38mm bends. I've got 2 different radiuses, a short one and a long one. We'll try and use the long one as much as possible, but there'll probably be scenarios where we'll need to use short ones too. And then it's going to go into a 2.5-inch exhaust, and so we've got a 2.5-inch flexi, 2.5-inch V-band, and some 2.5-inch bends. Probably need a few more of those. And the pièce de résistance, the 8-inch collector. So I had our local tube company make this up for me. So they cat it up, flare the ends so they sort of slip fit into there. Unfortunately, it's my job to fizz all this together, which, as you can see, is going to be a bit of an interesting job, but it looks really good. So yeah, pretty happy with all that. Now time to join it all together. Now that I've got the flange bolted up to the head, the next thing I want to do is start playing around with these initial pipes here. There isn't heaps of space here, so this is a bit of trial and error really. Here are the first set of runners. Obviously that's going to go up through there. It's a bit of a tight squeeze, and unfortunately the motor has to be lifted up to get those in. But there is no way around it, so these will basically be installed on the motor when the motor's dropped in. Hopefully they won't need to come out very often. So I'm going to fully weld this section before I carry on with the rest of the system. That is that part fully welded. So some of you might be thinking this should be back purged. Maybe you're right. The way I see it, the reason you back purge is to stop contamination on the inside. It's mainly there as a hygienic reason. The thing about exhaust gas is that it's inert, so it doesn't actually react with anything. So the way I see it, if you're making turbo manifolds, they get really hot and then the temperature weakens the metal, so you want to keep everything as strong as you can. A naturally aspirated heater like this is not going to see the same kind of temperature and pressure, therefore I think you can get away with not back purging it. I've made exhausts like this for years and I've never had a problem. Would it be better to be back purged? Yes. Do I think it's a waste of time on this? I think also yes. The extra time, effort and money that it would take, I don't think is worth it for an exhaust like this. Anyway, time to bolt this on, and this can probably stay in place permanently now. So yeah, that's all done. I just had to flatten that off on the linisher, get that a bit more square. It warped a bit when it was welded, which is fairly standard really. Now what I'm going to do is move over to the other side. Now I'm a man that likes symmetry, so I'm going to attempt to mirror this as best I can on this side. It's actually going to be a bit easier on this side due to basically this head sits way further forward than this one, so we've got far more room to send exhaust pipes up there. The only sort of complication is the steering shaft, which I'm going to have to maneuver around. Just like that, we have a second set of extractors fizzed up. A near perfect mirror image of the first set I made. This side for the driver's side, or the right hand side. Where they do differ is up through here. So these have got a snake around the steering column, and I had to put some funky angles on them to get around them. I couldn't make these any longer because then I wouldn't be able to get this up between the engine and the subframe. So that's how it's got to be. But yeah, they worked out pretty well. Let's go fit them up to the car. Now that I've finished up the initial pipe work, I need to give them something to aim at. And so it's time to make the collector. So as I said before, I had a local company, Autobend, design and make those for me. And as well as those, they've also supplied me with this jig. I had to weld it together. And this just orientates everything in the right place, so I can weld them together correctly. So hopefully they'll all just... One of them's a little tight. Will just fall on there like so. So as we can see, like the center point isn't yet perfect. I might need to squish those in and then fuse them. I'm not totally sure how I'm going to weld this up yet. Getting to the inside's obviously going to be quite difficult. What I'm going to do first though is basically tack it all together, and then probably I'll weld most of these, leaving a couple of them just tack so I can then pull it apart, weld the center sections, and then I might need to somehow get the welder in there to weld a couple of those inside things. Worst case scenario, if I can't get in there, I'll just squirt the underside with the MIG and no one will ever know. There we go, one complete 6-into-1 collector. This is the first one I've ever made, and I'm pretty happy with it. It's not perfect, so I did squirt the MIG in there. Can't really see, but that's kind of the point. You can't really see what's going on in there. It's a little bit messy in there. I gave it a touch up with the grinder. That'll be right. Overall, looks pretty good. Obviously got the 2.5-inch V-band on the back there, so I can easily separate the rest of the exhaust from it. So yeah, the next stage is to mount this into the car, probably just temporarily, and that'll give me something to shoot the pipes at, and then it's probably just going to hang off the pipes or hang off a rubber isolator. I'm not too sure yet. We still need to figure that out. But yeah, that is a great success. There is the collector. As I mentioned before, there's really only one practical place to put it, and that is just here behind the gearbox. So that's going to sit nice and high. I'll be able to get them all relatively equal length. The other options to put it would be sort of somewhere here, But getting all the pipes into that, well, I wouldn't want to say impossible, extremely difficult, and even more difficult to get them equal length. The main downside of this is the primary length is going to be coming from there all the way back to here. I haven't measured how long it is, but my basic knowledge of exhaust pulse tuning probably tells me it's too long. Anyway, the main purpose is that it sounds good. We may leave a little bit of power on the table, but nah, so be it. Alright, I've got the collector mounted up. It's just got a piece of flat bar up there which is connected to the gearbox. That's just going to be temporary. That just holds it in a nice firm position. And I've done the first pipe. So that comes from cylinder 5, snakes its way along and up into that runner. What I'm planning to do is have them fire in a rotational manner, like a revolver. I spent a bit of time here on the whiteboard playing around with different scenarios. So I've got the 6 cylinders here and the 6 collectors here, and just plotting out the pathways. I've done many different scenarios and I found this one here to be the best. Unfortunately I couldn't get any situation where the pipes don't cross over from one side to the other. So the firing order for this EZ is 163254. So yeah, this one has 2 on this side which go to 2 on that side, and that side has also 2 which go to the right hand side, but then unfortunately 1 has to cross over and 2 also has to cross over. But yeah, that's how it's going to go. I'm not quite sure how all the pipe work's going to work just yet, but we'll figure that out as we go. Making good progress here. So the first 4 pipes are all tacked together. That's 2 from that side, going to the left side of the collector, and then 2 from this side come onto this side, and then the remaining 2 will be crossing over. So this one here comes and then it's got a scallop out there, and so it's going to come from this side, cruise across to there, and then this one is going to come through there and cross over to the other side. Very happy with how it's all looking. I'm not looking forward to pulling it off and fully welding it, but that is a job for future Willie. It's especially difficult to get all these V-bands in here. It's quite tight around the steering universal. Not much I can do about it, it is what it is. And over this side here there's a bit more room, but it's obviously pretty tight coming through there. That is the primary headers all completed, fully welded, fully installed, all the nuts and bolts in, all the V-bands done up tight, engine back down and all bolted in, so I can cross that off the list. Next it is time to do the easy part and finish the rest of it, which is just going to be a straight 2.5 inch back along here, and then a centre exit out the centre.
These usually have like a twin thing going off each side. I prefer a single going out the middle. It's probably going to have no mufflers, not for right now anyway. It's probably going to be pretty noisy, and I'm going to guess at some point I'm going to need to put a muffler in. Like this car needs to be road legal, so I have a feeling that it will be too loud without mufflers, but we'll do that for a start anyway. See how that goes. So it's a pretty simple sort of thing here. We're just going to start with a flexi here, also an O2 bung for the cam to land for the Motec, and then straight pipe back, few bends, and of course some hangers.
Well, that was a big job, but the exhaust is finally done. Stay tuned for the next episode where we fire it up, see how it sounds, and put it on the dyno. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you then.